All right, so as people are trickling in, hello everyone. Welcome to our 11th general meeting and our second to last general meeting of the academic year. This year has been going by so fast, but please make sure to sign in with the QR code on the screen. And Stephen, if you could also drop the link, perfect, in the chat box for those who are unable to scan the QR code. We'll get started in like a minute or two. We're just gonna wait for more people to come in. So again, for those who just came in, welcome to our 11th general meeting and also our second to last one of the academic year. Please sign in with the QR code on the screen, and the link is in the chat box below as well if you can't scan it. Stephen will also be sending out the link throughout the meeting, and the QR code will also be on every screen of the presentation throughout the meeting.
Okay, I'll share my screen.
Alrighty, we'll get started in a minute or two. I hope everyone's doing well so far, and I hope midterms are also going well as projects. I know it's a stressful time in the semester, but we're almost there. We're almost at the finish line, and we'll all get through it together. Alrighty, a final announcement because we're going to go ahead and get started. But for those who just joined in, please make sure to sign in with the QR code on the screen. And the link is also in the chat box below if you are unable to scan it. Welcome to our 11th and second to last general meeting of the academic year. Next slide, please.
Hello, everyone. So once again, our membership form is still open and it's free as usual. And stay updated with all our events by checking out our weekly newsletter for more information.
Hi everyone. So we're continuing Q&A CE office hours throughout the rest of the semester. They're hosted on Tuesdays from 1 to 2 p.m. Using that Zoom ID. It's a great way to meet other civil students, especially in a virtual format. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact me at the email on the screen.
Hello, everyone. So just a reminder that we do have our Civil Engineering Department banquet this Friday. So be sure to RSVP using the link on there. And then also just to let you guys, next Friday. And then also just to let you guys know, we are going to be raffling off a bunch of prizes. And you guys will also have the opportunity to earn $1 for each club of your choice once you guys sign in that day. So just to give you guys a heads up, we're going to be doing 6 raffle baskets, and prizes are going to include AirPods, Nano Espresso, and a Google Home Mini. So just make sure you guys join and then stay tuned for some of the awesome prizes we're going to be having.
How's it going, guys? I'm here to talk about the Spring Alumni Social event. You guys can come hang out with us on Zoom with a couple of students, faculty, and alumni. It's not going to be a big whole event, but if you guys come, we're going to have some fun activities like a scavenger hunt, riddle, Kahoot. And then also you get to meet some professionals without being in a suit and tie, and you can actually just get to know how it is like in the industry. So it's going to be on May 7th from 6 to 8 p.m. And I sent you an email last week. I'll also be giving you guys another one in the upcoming weeks.
Hi everyone, so the 2021 annual Life Member Induction Ceremony will be hosted by LA section this year. So come and celebrate and honor all of the ASCE members who have advanced to Life Member status in recognition of their career achievements. It is absolutely free for students, and you can register with the QR code on the screen or the tiny URL also on the screen. The date of this event is Thursday, May 13th from 5:30 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. PST. And in order to attend, you do have to RSVP. It'll be a great night. We'll have a keynote speaker by the President-elect, Dr. Dennis Truax. And if you have any questions, you can contact me at cppaScepresident@gmail.com.
Hi again, everyone. So we will be hosting our third annual CE Department Senior Celebration to celebrate the achievements and accomplishments of our class of 2021. This is open to both undergraduate and graduate students, and more information regarding registration will be sent out next week. This will be a webinar hosted on Thursday, May 27th from 6 to 8 p.m. Again, more information regarding this will be sent out next week via email. And we are also hosting this year the Order of the Engineer in conjunction with the senior celebration. So it'll be on the same day and same webinar on May 27th, again from 6 to 8 p.m. I did have a registration for this, but it has been extended. So if you are still interested in participating, the registration does include a ring and certificate. And the registration has been extended to tomorrow by 11:59 p.m. If you have any questions regarding this or the previous slide, please feel free to contact me on that email again.
Hi everyone, so UC Berkeley has asked us to promote their Habitat for Humanity fundraiser. They're selling these stickers. They're super cute, so if you guys want to buy some and then just turn in proof, you can earn 5 membership points. And then another community service event is this weekend. Ensign for Humanity is going to be playing a documentary called Homeless in the Heartland. So if you want to, further explore this issue, go ahead and sign up. I'll link everything in the chat box as well for you guys.
Hi everyone. So actually right now, the 2021 CPP Giving Day is happening. It is the university's largest external fundraiser of the year, and it ends tonight at 9 p.m. And also right now until 1 p.m. is a lunchtime power hour. So please, please, please donate. Every dollar counts, and all of this money goes back to supporting student members like yourself. And if you can't donate, that's okay. Just please make sure to spread the word and share it with your family, friends, and colleagues. You can scan the link to donate. And again, from now until 1 p.m. is crucial timing. So if you could donate now, that would be amazing. And again, like Dr. Fairbank mentioned in the chat, even $1 makes a difference and every dollar counts. So I will be putting both links in the chat box below if you're unable to scan it. And so you can also access it through that. So we have 2 campaigns. The first one that I sent is for ASCE, and the second campaign is for the annual Donald G. Wells Memorial Endowed Scholarship. So let me put that in. And we'll give it some time right now before we move on to the next slide to allow for people to scan and donate if you can. So again, we really, really appreciate it. The team this year has been doing an amazing job, and we've already fundraised so much. But again, you can never have too much, and every dollar counts. And this will be supporting student members like yourself for the next academic year. So again, we'll just give it some time for people to scan the QR code and check the link in the box as well. Alrighty, next slide, please. So it is time for our general meeting giveaway. So make sure to sign in if you haven't already. We only choose members who have signed in through our sign-in sheet. So the QR code on the screen or the link that Steven sent in the chat box. We will be choosing 3 winners today, and you will be getting your prize through your CPP email. So we'll give a little more time too for people to sign in if they haven't already. And yes, these gift cards are sponsored by the ASCE San Bernardino Riverside Younger Member Forum. So thank you to them for sponsoring these gift cards today. Alrighty, without further ado, Matthew, if you could switch over to the virtual raffle generator and we'll go ahead and get started with that.
Yeah, Stephen, oops. How many attendees do we have?
32.
32. This works here. Number 5.
5 is Brianna Bosler. Congratulations.
And then number 18.
18 is Karina Salgado. Congratulations.
And last one, number 11.
11 is Cesar Hernandez. And congratulations.
All right, let me switch back here.
Alrighty, so congratulations to all of our 3 winners today. You should be receiving your prize by the end of the day through your CPP email. Next slide. So welcome Matthew today. We will be having Matthew speak on EIT tips and tricks. So Matthew, whenever you're ready, you can go ahead and get started. And then real quick before you go, I'm gonna pitch Giving Day one more time. I'll send the link in the chat again for those who joined. And again, from now until 1 p.m. is crucial. So every donation counts, every dollar counts. And thank you to all of those who have already donated. We really appreciate it. All right, Matthew, take it away.
All right, thanks, Colby. Welcome to our presentation on EIT tips and tricks. So you're actually probably going to get a little bit more than what you thought you were going to get today. And we'll kind of dive into a little bit more about like licensure and all that stuff. So bear with me. The first part of the presentation will be a little bit more like content heavy, but I think it's really important in some key points as far as students and young civil engineers understanding licensure and like how they develop in their path to overall licensure. So to kind of get us started, I'm sure that everybody sees all these letters all the time, right, at the end of names. And so kind of what do all these letters mean? And so we'll kind of break down some of those, but there's a difference between licensure and certifications. So licensure generally refers to something that's done at the state level and is required by law. And that is in order to protect the public and for professionals who are entering into the profession, like that's the licensure that they need to have in order to practice. And then certifications are a little bit different in the sense that they can be issued by a non-government agency, so something like ASCE or LEAD or Envision, if you've ever heard of any of those. And that goes to recognize professionals' competency in a particular field or a specific area. And so this slide kind of just shows a little bit more about the difference between licensure and certifications. So kind of breaking down some of those. Professional licenses, there's a whole bunch out there, but PE is probably the most recognized one that civil engineers will obtain. So that stands for professional engineer, but there are a whole bunch of other different ones that are issued by the state of California that you can take after you obtain your PE. Oops. And then we got a whole bunch of certifications here. So this ties into what you'll see here in a second as like alphabet soup. So there's, EIT, LSIT, there's the Envision, there's different levels for LEED certifications. I also went and found a few people on LinkedIn who have like letters at the end of their name. And so here's kind of some more typical ones that you might see. So project management professional, there's also a QSP and QSD, and that's for like water stuff. And then there's also professional memberships. So in professional memberships, national societies can grant different levels of membership. So for ASE, for instance, there's student member, associate member, member, fellow, distinguished member, all sorts of different types. And so today we'll be looking at specifically PE and EIT. And then so now that you kind of know a little bit more about the letters, I want to break it down here. So this is my name. So the EIT is a certification. The ENVSP is also a certification, and S.M.ASCE stands for Student Member of the American Society of Civil Engineers. And then I actually have Dr. Fairbanks in here too. So PhD, that's education. She earned her doctorate degree. PE, that's a license. And then MASCE stands for member for ASCE. And then I also use our another faculty advisor, so Professor Alan Ng. So PLS, that's Professional Land Surveyor, that is a license. And then he's also a member of ASCE and CLSA. And so why is being able to read alphabet soup important? To understand where professionals are at and recognize their competencies, and also know the areas that they are able to practice. And so a little bit more on professional licensure. Sorry, I'm just reading the chat too. So what is it? And so you might recognize, a PE stamp goes on plans, and that's, an official stamp certifying that the plans are or have been developed in a responsible manner that will protect the public. And so here's a technical definition of what protecting the public looks like from the California Business Code. And I won't read that, but basically protecting the public is the highest of priority. And that's seen, not only in state and federal laws, but also in societies like code of ethics. So ASE has a code of ethics, and maintaining the health and public welfare of the public is of the utmost importance. And so what goes into professional licensure? It's been described as a three-legged stool. So there's education, experience, and exams. So, education, that's what we're all working on right now. Experience, you have to have a certain number of years after you've graduated working in the field that you're going into, and then exams. So you have to take a whole bunch of exams, and we'll dive into that a little bit more here. And so the first exam would be the FE exam. So that's Fundamentals of Engineering exam. And that is to obtain your EIT certificate or certification. And so we talked a little bit about what EIT certification is. And then that's on your road to getting your PE license. So here you can see, you take the FE exam, you apply for your EIT, you get that. You have to have 6 years of experience. 4 of those years count in your undergrad, and then you need an additional 2. And then there's the PE process, which we'll go into. So here's kind of what I said. There's the FE exam. And the rest of these slides are kind of just showing this information in different ways. So there's the FE exam, the PE exam.
No, 12:45.
Give me a second. Okay. FE exam, PE exam. And then after you take your PE exam, which is the 8-hour exam in California, the 8-hour is administered by NCES. And then after you take and pass that one, then you have to also pass seismic and surveying, because we're in California, and those are just the requirements that you need to take or obtain your PE license. And then there's also a laws and regulations one, but that's a take home, if I'm not mistaken. And then, so here's kind of what I was talking about, the different requirements that you need for your PE. So, pass the FE exam, pass the PE civil, and then there's the professional experience requirements. And then you need to be working under a PE too. to actually qualify it as professional experience. And then the other surveying or seismic and surveying exams. And then you submit all that to the board, and then hopefully they approve it. And so kind of some changes to the PE side of things. There's no filing deadline of like when you have to have things in, it's just continuous enrolling. Another thing is that they release the results a little bit more sooner. And then another new one is that you can actually sit for the 8-hour PE exam after you have obtained your EIT certification. So if you want to do that, the PE is administered twice a year. It's actually today, which is kind of funny. But it happens in April and then in October, the PE part, the 8-hour exam. And then starting in 2022, it will be fully online or a computer-based test, which is actually how the FE's examined. But right now it's a paper-based test. And so who issues these? Who's the regulatory authority? So it's the Board for Professional Engineers, Land Surveyors, and Geologists, and that sits under the Department of Consumer Affairs in the state of California, and that's how the state, protects the public in that sense. And then, so what's the EIT process? So after taking, or you register, take the FE pass, and then you complete an application form. There's a processing fee. You have to get a live scan fingerprints done. And then there's another processing period. And then you receive your EIT license. So jumping into the actual FE part of things now. So what does that process look like? You take it through NCES, and that's who administers these tests. So the current examination fee is $175, and then you schedule it, and then you take it at a testing center. So NCES creates the exams, but it's actually administered through a testing center. And so there's a few near campus. There's one in Ontario, San Dimas, and I believe Orange. So you take that and then pass, and then you do the other steps to actually obtain your EIT. And I'm seeing in the chat, yeah, we'll have the slides available because I know it's a lot of content. So the FE is administered year-round at the testing centers, but if you unfortunately don't pass the exam, then you can only take it a certain number of times per year. So that's just what the testing windows are. But the pass rate for the FE Civil is 73%, and that was in July of 2020. And so breaking it down a little bit more, so it's 110 questions. You have 6 hours, give or take. You only have about 5 hours and 20 minutes for the actual exam. So it's like 3 minutes per question. There's 2 sections. So there's like a morning part and then an afternoon part, and you get to determine how much time you want to spend on both halves, and then you get a break in between. So working to find that balance and know when you're gonna, or how much time you want to spend on the front half versus the back half is important. And so what's actually in it? A lot of stuff, but a lot of stuff that the Cal Poly curriculum already covers. So as long as you're making progress towards your degree, you are making progress towards studying for the FE exam. And as you go through your different math and science classes and also your TAG courses or technical area gateways, I highly recommend you save all of your work, because you can use it to study for the FE and use it as additional practice problems, and it'll just really benefit you in the long run. But they changed the requirements in July 2020 as far as the specifications. So these are the new ones. So just make sure when you're on the website, you're getting the newer ones. I took it back when water resources and environmental were separate sections. And then there was a structural analysis section and then a structural design section, but now they've kind of grouped things together. So actual tips for studying for the exam. So you definitely have to make some kind of study plan. This is the one that I used here on the right. It depends as far as like how much time you think you'll need. You have to kind of break up the different sections and see, you know, how much you know in each one of those sections, and then just really block out like your schedule as far as like times you can set up and study for the exam. Because when you're studying and doing practice problems, like it takes a lot to kind of like get set up, or at least it took me a lot to get set up and do all that stuff. So you want to make sure that you're not just like setting everything up and then like you can only study for like 10 minutes and then you got to pack it all up again. And then, like I said previously, so determine which topics you need more time on. For the areas that you know well, you don't need to spend as much time reviewing. And then the areas that you don't know, you know, you can spend more time on. There will probably be stuff that you don't know on the exam, but that's okay. As long as you're doing a lot of practice problems and really, you know, trying to do the work and not just like, oh, okay, I have a solution key up and then I have the problem and I'll just kind of like write out my work, but actually like training your brain to recognize like what you need for the problems and how to solve them is really important. And so for the exam, like I mentioned, it's a computer-based test. So you take everything on a computer. And so the way that the test looks is on one side, you have the computer, you have the test. And then on the other side, you have the FE handbook. So really knowing how to use that handbook is important. And you definitely want to have it open when you're studying. Learning how to control F or like control find in the manual is important. So, you know, we might know, okay, I need a transportation equation, but like what's that equation called, or what section is that in? You don't want to be spending a lot of time scrolling through and trying to find the section that you need, because the FE reference handbook actually has all of the equations for all of the FE exams. So not just civil, but there's mechanical, computer, chemistry, I'm not too sure, but there's a lot of other sections in it. So you want to make sure that you know where the civil portions are and what you'll need out of that. And then learning how to use your calculator. So there's a approved list of calculators that you can have for the exam. So making sure that you have an approved calculator. It can't be a graphing one, but that you're learning how to use your calculator appropriately, because a lot of problems can be done really simply if you know how to use your calculator by setting up an equation or setting up a table, especially in like the statistics part. You know, you don't want to be calculating standard deviation on like a little 2-line calculator if it can do it for you, you know? And then using all of your resources, so study materials, different practice exams, and then YouTube videos. Okay, so, okay, sorry, I'm just checking the chat. So understand you won't know everything. When I took the exam, I hadn't taken a structural design class, I hadn't taken geotech, I hadn't taken environmental, but learning how to use the equations and know like what you need to pull out from the problem to solve it is really important. So identifying those sections that you're weak on, practicing more in those. If it seems like a section is just too hard or you're not getting the concept, another way you can try to do it is just really improve on those other ones. But what I did is I broke up the exam and like the potential questions or number of questions that I could have on it. And then I said, okay, if I get all the questions right in the math and all the questions right in the statistics, I never took dynamics, so maybe I'll get a few wrong in the dynamic section, like what's my score? And you don't have to get 100% on the exam to pass. It's curved based on the different windows of time people are taking it in. And then I believe like if you're over 70, you're like pretty good. But that's another thing, like if you pass, you pass and it doesn't show you your score. And then if you fail, it'll give you a breakdown, but not an overly in-depth one. So like I said, just try to identify those sections that you know you need more work on, be confident in the sections that you do know, and then just kind of go from there. And so here's kind of a little layout of how I would study. So I would pull up, you know, the practice problem. I have my FE handbook open. If I was doing practice problems from YouTube videos, then I would have the YouTube video open, and then I have my calculator out. So the calculator that I have and used for the exam is the TI-36X Pro. So that can do a little bit more than, I don't know what the model is right below it, but this one will do like derivatives and integrals for you if you need them. But the other one will work just as fine as far as like the tables for the statistics problems and stuff like that. So when you pull up the YouTube video, you know, if they're like going through and solving it with you, definitely like pause it, try to work it out on your own, and then you know, get to a part where you've either obtained the answer or you've looked at all your resources and you can't move any further, but you've, you know, attempted the problem, tried to get some kind of solution, and then walk through, okay, what was the appropriate way to solve this problem. Another thing is sometimes they'll give you more content than what you need to solve the problem. So being able to identify what content you actually need, like to plug into the equation that's not just fluff, is really important. And then, so I wanted to offer some resources to everybody. There is or potentially there will be a FE review being administered by the Orange County Younger Member Forum of ASCE. So there's the link to find more info in their email. I know that there used to be a Cal Poly review course that was done by a part-time lecturer, but I haven't seen that course advertised in a while. And then for members, I have a link for all the stuff that I use to practice. So I can give that. Okay, Dr. Fairbank said the Cal Poly one doesn't exist, but I can get access for members of ASCE to my like resources, and it has like the links for all the YouTube videos that I use too. So there's, I forget what his name is. It's like Gregory Michael or somebody like that in like Michigan, but he does like a full in-depth like review videos with his class and stuff, and those are really great. Yes, thank you, Jillian. And so some kind of FAQs. So if you're graduating and you're like, oh no, is it too late? It's not too late. You can take it whenever, but you know, once you feel like you've gotten to a point in your coursework where, you know, you've taken a majority of the classes that are on there, I would just say take it. That way the content, you know, is fresh in your brain and you feel like you've, you know, had some exposure to it. I took mine in February of last year. So prior to that, or in the fall, I took transportation engineering, water resources, geomatics, and structural analysis. So at that point, I felt comfortable enough to where, okay, some of the other sections I might not know, but I can, you know, go through the practice problems and be able to kind of solve it from there. And then, yeah, that kind of answers number 2. And then to study, we talked about the different resources available. And I think the biggest thing is you really just have to practice, practice. And like, if you're not doing the problems, like you'll get to the exam and you just won't know how to solve the problems, even if you have the FE manual in front of you and the problem. If you don't know like the process of the problems and like what they're looking for, not that they're all looking for the same things, but there are the same types of problems that will keep coming up. So the more you get comfortable with those types of problems, the better you'll do. A lot of people ask how long to study for. So I scheduled mine in February with the intent to practice over winter break. Winter break kind of escaped me and I didn't get to practice as much as I wanted to, but probably the 3 weeks before the exam, like I really like set time aside and like was like, all right, like this is just like what I have to do. If I have to stay up late, like I have to get through these sections that I'm not comfortable with in order to feel better about those questions and so on. And then where's this information? So it's online. A lot of the NCES stuff. The handbook is there. When you register and create an account, you can get the FE handbook. I think the latest one is like 10.2, but you can get that there. They also have practice exams. They're okay. If you can get practice exams on the internet, like from other places, I would recommend those just because I think you can see a lot more questions that way. And that's it for FAQs. And then here's kind of just some more links if you have questions. This is like more for like the board licensing once you've passed your FE, then all of that stuff. But that's my EIT certificate that they sent me. So it's pretty cool once you get it in the mail. I got mine like probably like a few weeks after we had gone remote. So it got sent to my house and stuff like that, but it was really cool to open and stuff. Cause they won't like, you won't know, like you get notified via the email, normal mail. Like you don't get an email like, oh, you've been approved. You like get it in the mail. So that's kind of all I have. I know we're at 38 and we can do more questions, or if anybody has like more specific questions, we can open it up to that. But I see Dr. Fairbank has her hand up.
I had to share the one tip that Matthew didn't share because Matthew was being a very good student. So the extra tip I want to share, and those that had me have heard this. So it's a multiple choice test. And so 25% of the questions are A, 25 are B, 25 are C, and 25 D, because this is a standard multiple choice test. And it's designed such that 25% of the answers will be A, 25 will be B, 25 will be C, and 25 will be D. So if you don't know an answer to a question, if you always answer the same letter consistently, for everything you don't know, you will get 25% of them correct. Don't switch. Don't like go A, B, C, A, B, don't do that. Use the same letter. So Patrick always uses C. I always use B. That's my letter, Patrick, but I don't think it matters as long as you're consistent.
Patrick? Oh, maybe not. Yeah, sorry if that felt like a lot of material and a lot of content. Like I said, you probably got a little bit more than just EIT tips and tricks, but I think it's important for students to understand the process and like understand, why everybody always says, oh, get your EIT, get your EIT. But like, what does that mean? And like, why you need it, I think is important too. So how long until you find out if you pass? They say like up to a month, but I feel like I got mine within like a week or two. I felt like it was really quick, and especially since it's a computer-based test. I mean, the computer knows whether you passed or not after you took it. So it's just a matter of, I think, the system processing that. And then how long until you get your certificate? So the board says up to 60 days processing time, but I think I got mine again in like maybe 30 days or so from like when I actually sent in my or mailed in my application to when I received it back in the mail.
Matt, I had a question. For those of us who are more comfortable doing practice problems out of like a book rather than just finding stuff online, are there any recommendations that you have?
Yeah, so there's the, what's it called? I think it's the Lindenberg Review book that you can like buy, and that has like a whole bunch of practice problems and practice exams. I just use the PDFs that like I was handed down, and like that's all I used. And those PDFs have both practice problems and then a few practice exams. And so I did a combination of like that, like those PDFs, and then also the YouTube videos.
Then did we have any other questions for Matthew?
Oh yeah, I had one. I put it in the chat, but Matthew, you mentioned how you had it scheduled in February and you wanted to study during winter break, but ended up doing it kind of 3 weeks prior. How many hours do you think you put in total towards studying for the exam within those 3 weeks?
I don't know. I mean, I could go count, but like for each one of the sections, like if it was an easier section, like math and statistics, then maybe I did like 2 sections in one day and studied for 2 to 3 hours. And then if it was like a section that had like more content, and I wasn't quite comfortable with, then maybe I spent 2 hours on geotech and then did another 2 hours on another day. With that same subject. So you kind of just have to, see how much you're comfortable with the content. And at the end of the day, like it will take time to like go through the practice problems and like checking your answers and stuff like that. So just kind of make sure that you budget enough time for that.
And then I actually did have another question regarding more the PE. And I'm not too sure if you're familiar with this, and Dr. Fairbank, if you are, please feel free to pitch in. But as far as there's a lot of people in California who do get licensed out of state to work on projects. Do you know, I mean, I'm sure every process is different, but like, do you have to retake an 8-hour for that or for that board, or are you familiar with how it works?
So that's a really good question. I know California, since we have like, or everybody takes the 8-hour, but then since California has the seismic and surveying component, then normally the California license is a little bit easier to transfer to other states, but there might be some like additional requirements. Dr. Fairbank, if you know of any.
So it's really easy actually. So the 8-hour is transferable everywhere. So like if you took, let's say the Colorado PE, it only has the 8-hour requirement. And if you wanted to get the California PE, you will have to take surveying and seismic. So in order to get the California PE, you'll have to take the additions. But like Matthew is describing, if you have a California PE and you're going to work in Nevada and Arizona, right, in the neighboring states, you pretty much can get with like a reciprocity. You just have to fill out a form and you have to pay the $300 every other year or something like that, the fee. But the biggest thing is once you become licensed, don't ever let your license lapse, or there's like a statute of limitation and you'll have to retake the test.
So we do have about 5 more minutes left. If anyone has additional questions, please feel free to unmute your mic or you can put it in the chat.
I have a question for the audience. What scares you the most about this process? You can type it if you're scared to unmute yourself.
I think what Colby said, failure. I have a lot of friends who are taking it right now and everyone's passing. So there's a lot of pressure going into, I'm actually taking my FE at the end of June. So yeah, it's a lot of pressure.
So, you know what? So not passing it the first time, it'll actually tell you areas that you need to practice more. So when you pass these tests, it just tells you you passed it. But let's say you don't pass it, it'll tell you what areas you're weak in. And I've only heard of 1 or 2 people that have really struggled with it. The majority of Cal Poly Pomona students have done incredibly well on it. And it's because you practice. Now, if you go in blind or go in unprepared, I would worry about it. But I'm just giving you that suggestion as that. And then, you know how like in your classes when you're taking, so now you know what subjects, especially like the younger students out there, you have all your subjects that you know that are on it. You know, do you guys create cheat sheets anymore? Well, create cheat sheets for yourself when you take those subjects so that when it's time for the review, you can pull out your FE reference manual and you can kind of highlight the stuff. I mean, it's digital, so you should be able to highlight it digitally. And that way, what'll help you with is reconnecting what you already know as you study. So not just, so know what you know and then highlight what you know. And then you're like, okay, look, oh, those are different questions. Those are different equations that you hadn't seen before. But all the equations are on there. So it's not a test on knowledge, I'm sorry to say. It's a test on speed, a test on your calculator use, and a test on looking up material. So the fear should go away if all you figure out is how to use your calculator and how to look up info. But that's an opinion on my end, okay?
Yeah, and another thing with the like time part is like once you've solved the problem and like you know you solved the problem, like stop. Like don't go try to design a road if you don't need to design a road. That was something that like I saw in like my stuff and like the YouTube videos that I was watching. Like you don't, like once you get the solution, then like that's all you need to do. Like you don't need to continue to whatever. If like, oh, like normally I'm used to doing like this part in class and like after I've gotten this number, then I like keep going. Like if that's all you need for the test, then like stop.
Yeah, so we are nearing 12:50, but Dr. Fairbank, thank you for that. I think that provided a little bit more comfort going into it. I'm sorry if this is repetitive, but just as far as the registration process for the EIT, it's $175, and then you get the entire year to take it 3 times. So if you don't pass those 3 times, or if you don't take it throughout the year, then you just have to pay that registration fee again. And then I see Colby has her hand up too.
Oh, I just wanted to make sure that we acknowledged Val's question. So Valerie Sarmiento asked in the chat, can I get my EIT in California and then do my 2 years of work experience in another state, but have that go towards my California PE license?
I misread it. You have to make sure there's a California PE at the company you work with that can sign off. So when you apply for your PE, people have to vouch for you, and it's a process. And so you've got to have technically you got to get other PEs to sign for you, but depending on what agency you work for. But there's no need to have a California PE if you're in Florida, unless you're doing work in California.
Mm-hmm. Another thing, so California calls it EIT. In other states, you might see it as EI or engineering intern, but those are the same things. It's just what the licensing board grants to the individual in that state. So yeah, if you're like considering moving out of state or whatever, like kind of Fairbanks said, make sure that you're looking out for that stuff. And that's another really good point, is like you have to be working under a PE, a licensed PE, for those 2 years of work experience post-graduation to count. Because there was another thing, I don't know if it was in my slides, but like just because, like, I don't want to say it wrong, but like not all engineers do engineering work, or you just have to like make sure that you're actually doing like engineering work that will qualify you to be passed and approved when you apply for your license.
Alrighty, so we are running short on time. Thank you so much, Matthew and Dr. Fairbank, for your insight on the EIT and the PE. But before we all go, because I know a lot of us have class at 1, can we take a group photo? If you can, please turn on your camera. If not, that's okay too. And then if you are available later, I know Matthew also has class at 1, but if we have a little more time and you still have more questions, you can put it in the chat and you can also ask Matthew before he goes. But if you can, please turn on your camera. If not, that's okay. And then we'll take a picture in like a little bit. We'll give some time for people to turn on their cameras.
I don't have class at 1 today.
Oh,
I don't have
okay.
normally have a meeting at 1, but I don't have anything today. So if people have more questions, I can stay on.
Perfect. Thank you. Alrighty, so I still see people turning on their cameras. Oh, I see a little baby. Alrighty, okay, we'll take our photo now. So on the count of 3, let me make my screen. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Okay, and then we'll take another one. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Alrighty. So Matthew, if you can switch back to the general meeting slides real quick before people start heading out. But so again, a final thank you to Matthew and also Dr. Fairbank too for providing all of your great tips and insight on the EIT as well as the PE. I'm sure everyone learned a lot. And for those of you who are still here, we will be sending out these slides next week for you to have access to as well. Next slide, please. So again, make sure to stay connected with us. We have a lot of social media platforms for you. If you have any questions, you can reach out to us on any of these links or apps or whatnot, and we'll get back to you as soon as possible. Next slide, please. And our next and final general meeting of the academic year will be in 2 weeks from now, Thursday, May 6th at U hour. Same Zoom ID and link, and we will be having the 2021-2022 CPP ASCE Officer Introductions. So before you all go, yes, thank you, Casey, for sending the Giving Day link. Actually, don't use those links. We have these ambassador links that we use, but thank you, thank you. The first link that I sent is for ASCE, and then this link is for Don G. Wells Scholarship. So, Matthew, again, sorry, if you can share the screen with the Giving Day QR codes too, for those who it may be easier to just scan the QR codes. Alrighty, so you can scan to donate on the screen, or you can use the links in the chat box. Again, now until 1 p.m., so we have 5 minutes left, is really, really crucial. If we do win, we get an extra $1,000 to go to either one of our campaigns, depending on the one who wins. So please, please, please donate. I believe they moved the minimum now to $5, but again, anything counts. And like Jerry said, we are currently second and are only a few donors behind. So if you can, please donate. And if not, please spread the word and share it with your family, friends, and colleagues. Other than that, if you still have questions for Matthew regarding EIT and the FE exam, please feel free to unmute yourself or put it in the chat box and Matthew will be able to answer them. But if not, I see some people trickling out. Thank you again for coming to our 11th general meeting. And for those who donated to Giving Day so far, thank you so much. We truly appreciate it. And have a great rest of your week, and we'll see you all soon.